Hello, boys and girls. It's Mr. McMahon, and today I'd like to read a book called The White Stallion, and it's written by Elizabeth Shub, and the pictures are by Rachel Isadora. The White Stallion. Here's our title page. Dedication page. This is a true story. Gretchen. My grandmother Gretchen, your great-great-grandmother, told it to me. She was as young as you are when it happened. She was as old as I am when I heard it from her. It was 1845. 3 families were on their way west. They planned to settle there. They traveled in covered wagons. Each wagon was drawn by 4 horses. Conestoga wagons, they were called. Gretchen and her family were in the last wagon. Mother and father sat on the driver's seat. The children were inside with the household goods. Bedding, blankets, pots and pans, a table, chairs, a dresser took up most of the space. There was not much room left for Trudy, John, Billy, and Gretchen. Gretchen was the youngest. Behind the wagon walked Anna, their old mare. She was not tied to the wagon, but followed faithfully. She carried 2 sacks of cornmeal on her back. It was hot in the noonday sun. The children were cranky and bored. The wagon cover shaded them, but little air came in through the openings at front and back. John kicked Billy, Billy pushed him, and he bumped Gretchen. Trudy, the oldest, who was trying to read, scolded them. Their quarrel was interrupted by Father's voice. "Quick, everybody, look out! There's a herd of Mustangs." The children clambered to the back of the wagon. In the distance, they could see the wild horses. The horses galloped swiftly, and in minutes were out of sight. "Look at Anna," John said. The old mare stood rigid. She had turned her head toward the Mustangs. Her usually floppy ears were lifted high. The wagon had moved some distance before Anna trotted after it. It was hotter than ever inside. "Father," Gretchen called, "may I ride on Anna for a while?" Father stopped the wagon and came to the back. He lifted Gretchen onto the mare. The meal sacks made a comfortable seat. He tied her securely so that she would not fall off. As they moved on, Gretchen fell asleep, lulled by the warmth of the sun. They were following a trail in Texas along the Guadalupe River. The rear wheel of the first wagon hit a boulder, and the axle broke. The whole train stopped. Anna strayed away with Gretchen sleeping on her back. No one noticed. The travelers made camp. Children were sent for firewood and for water from the river. The women prepared food. It was not until the axle had been fixed that they were ready to eat that Gretchen and Anna were missed. The men tried to follow the mare's tracks, but soon lost them. It was getting dark. There was nothing to do but remain where they were. They would search again at the first sign of light. Faithful Anna, they thought, would return. She probably had discovered a rich patch of mesquite grass. She would come back when she had eaten all she wanted. Gretchen awoke to the sound of lapping. Anna was drinking noisily from a stream. A short distance away stood a herd of 10 or 12 wild horses. They were brownish in color. Some had darker brown stripes down their backs. Others had dark markings on their legs. They were mares. After Anna had finished drinking, she moved toward them, and they walked forward as if to greet her. When they came close, they neighed and nickered. They crossed necks with Anna, nuzzled her and rubbed her against her. They were so friendly that Gretchen was not afraid, and she did not realize that Anna had wandered far from the wagon train. Sorry. Suddenly, the horses began to nibble at the sacks on Anna's back. They had smelled the cornmeal. In their eagerness, they nipped Gretchen's legs. Gretchen screamed. She tried to move out of the way. She tried to loosen the ropes that tied her, but she could not reach the knots. Terrified, Gretchen screamed and screamed. Out of nowhere, a great white stallion appeared. He pranced and whinnied. He swished his long white tail. He stood on his hind legs, his white mane flying. The mares moved quickly out of his way. The white stallion came up to Anna. He carefully bit through the ropes that tied Gretchen. Then gently he took hold of the back of her dress with his teeth. He lifted her to the ground. He seemed to motion to the mares with his head, and then he galloped away. The mares followed at once. Anna followed them. Gretchen was left alone. She did not know what to do. Father will find me soon, she said out loud to comfort herself. She was hungry, but there was nothing to eat. She walked to the stream and drank some water. Then she sat down on a rock to wait. She waited and waited, but there was no sign of Father and no sign of Anna. Shadows began to fall. The sun went down. The dark came. Anna, Gretchen called. Anna, Anna, Anna. There was no answering sound. She heard a coyote howl. She heard the rustling of leaves and the call of red birds. Gretchen began to cry. She made a place for herself on some dry leaves near a tree trunk. She curled up against it and cried until she fell asleep. Morning light woke Gretchen. The stream sparkled in the sunlight. Gretchen washed her face and drank the clear water. She looked for Anna. She called her name, but Anna did not come. Gretchen was so hungry she chewed some sweet grass, but it had a nasty taste, and she spat it out. She sat on her rock near the stream. She looked at the red bite marks on her legs and began to cry again. A squirrel came by. It looked at her in such a funny way that she stopped crying. She walked along the stream. She knew she must not go far. If you are lost, Mother had warned, stay where you are. That will make it easier to find you. Gretchen walked back to her rock. It was afternoon when she heard the sound of hooves. A moment later, Anna ambled up to the stream. The sacks of meal were gone. The old mare drank greedily. Gretchen hugged and kissed her. She patted her back. Anna would find her way back to the wagon train. She tried to climb on Anna's back, but even without the sacks, the mare was too high. There was a fallen tree not far away. Gretchen wanted to use it as a step. She tugged at Anna, but Anna would not move. Gretchen pulled and shoved. She begged and pleaded. Anna stood firm. Now again the white stallion appeared. Again he lifted Gretchen by the back of her dress, and he sat her on Anna's back. He nuzzled and pushed the old mare. Anna began to walk. The white stallion walked close behind her for a few paces. Then, as if to say goodbye, he stood on his hind legs, whinnied, and galloped away. Gretchen always believed the white stallion had told Anna to take her back to the wagon train, for that is what Anna did. Your great-great-grandmother Gretchen bore the scars of the wild mare bites for the rest of her life. I know because when she told me the story, she pulled down her stockings and I saw them. The White Stallion. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.